Hello friends, how you doing? Day 1161. Hope you're doing amazing. Oh my gosh. It is just a bit after 9 o'clock. And I just want to come in and just chat with you a little about tipping. I saw a post and I think it was in a Vegas group. Someone just asked, hey, do you tip with card or cash? And there were a lot of different responses and different perspectives and views for sure. Obviously, if you tip with cash, then the server or whoever you're tipping to gets to keep the whole thing, and they can technically not declare it. Nobody would know. Of course, if you tip with card, then everything is tracked, and you'd have to declare. And so, as a worker, obviously, what do you prefer? And how black and white are you on declaring all your income? Right? I think a lot of people, when they take a job that has tips, they rely on that to survive and to live, obviously. And so, also, if you're paying by card, then you give more money to the credit card company and lowering the profit from the business owners as well. And so, there's obviously lots of pluses and minuses to that. But before I get into responses, how about tipping culture in general? From what I've read and understand, it's kind of an outdated practice, and it's not even what it was meant to be in the first place. And so, if you want to look into the history of that, go for it. There's some articles, some videos on that. But nowadays, I don't know about you, but it's kind of getting a little bit out of hand in terms of tipping. Like everywhere is asking for a tip now. Coffee shops, everywhere. Like even with mine, with the casino events, in the casino, there's a tipping culture, right? With our events, we would appreciate tips as well, but they don't. People don't tip as much there, for whatever reason. And so, but I think talking to a lot of friends, people are just tired of tipping and the expectation, because I get it. It's cost of living, inflation, everything's driving everything up. So things are tight. And I understand that. And so every little bit extra will make a difference especially if you have a family and people that are depending on you. I get that. But, ideally what I like to see is tipping kind of just gone in terms of the culture. Now, if somebody actually wanted to tip you because you actually did something extra or what have you, like went above and beyond, sure, I think that's great. But for people to rely on that, I don't know. And there's some people who are adamant for not tipping at all. Say, well, why should I tip you if you're just doing your job? Why should I pay you extra? And I get that perspective as well. In some places like the States, in certain states as well, they pay very, very minimally, like $1, $2, $3 an hour, very little, and they literally rely on the tips basically for the whole income. In Canada, it's not the same. In Canada, there's a minimum wage for beverage workers, bartenders, what have you, and servers as well. So it's a different scale, but ideally, I'd like to see if businesses can figure out a way to actually pay their staff a living wage where they don't have to rely on tips. I think that'd be ideal. How? I don't know. Obviously, it's a huge challenge because everyone right now is relying on tips. I think it requires a huge shift in our culture. For people to kind of get on the same page, right? And that's not something that's easily done. For me, if I go out and certain things are expected to tip, for example, go eating out, right? I tip. Why? It's just the culture right now, right? And a few extra dollars here, extra, it helps the server feel better, right? And it's not going to hurt me that much. So a few bucks, I kind of just put into my expectation of what I'm going to be paying anyways if I'm going to go out. And so a couple of things here. Let's see. So one person here wrote down they always tip 20%. Oh my gosh, I remember when the norm was 10%. That was like a long time ago, but now it's 20%. 15 is the minimum, and 20 is like, oh, okay, decent. And it's just like, wow, I don't know. And it says here, this person put down, I always tip 20%, usually on my credit card, which they said is for their own convenience. Politically and from a social welfare standpoint, I wish restaurants would simply pay a full and competitive wage and eliminate tipping. I can't remember where I read this, but a restaurant owner in favor of this said in effect, if you get poor service, you need to tell the manager or the owner right away and not simply reflect it in the tip. Poor service needs an immediate response of correction and training so that the server gets better and that everyone gets better service next time. The owner does not want that affecting the reputation of the business. And for me, yes, that's a great point. Like, if you're going to lower somebody's tip, how do they actually become better? They might just feel resentful towards you. But if you tell the owner or the manager, guess what? Now they can have a chat with the server or whoever and say, hey, you know what? You gotta clean this up because this is not good for business. And as a business owner myself, I concur. I agree, 100%. Because yeah, you're thinking you're hurting that person. Guess what? You're actually hurting everyone. So that's like this person. I agree. Tell the owner, tell the boss, so that they can actually work with the worker and help them become better. And let's see here. Here's another one. It says here, I'm pretty sure if the server doesn't report the tips, that would be considered tax evasion. In some of my experiences, the server had to state their total tips at the end of the night. If the numbers didn't reach a certain percentage of their sales, there were questions about the quality of service they were providing. In other restaurants, it was automatically assumed the server made a certain percentage. Unless the restaurant is stealing from the servers, it says that I've never experienced this to my knowledge, whether the tip is cash or credit is irrelevant. And so again, just something to consider, that many times restaurants, they tip out, right? So if you're a server, you have to tip a certain percentage to the back, to the kitchen, to the bartender, what have you. And so if you decrease the tip, then it actually may affect more than just the server. So you're actually punishing a number of people. And the last perspective says here, and I think it's for the States, since a lot of great information and perspectives are offered here already, I'll offer something that's not yet represented, and that's the knowledge of the Internal Revenue Code. It says, it doesn't say that you can give gifts or not give gifts. It says that if you give below the $14,000 threshold, then you, the giver, won't have to pay gift tax. Additionally, even if the cash total were $14,000 or higher, any IRS auditor would take a look at the situation and see that services were provided at the time of the transfer of money. Upon audit, it wouldn't be deemed a gift, but a fee for service, and the recipient would be subject to income tax. All right. And so I think that's for the States. But anyways, just some things to consider. But in general, I just think we need to just get rid of the tipping culture, because like I said, everything is expecting tips now. Even getting a coffee, black coffee, it's like, here, here's an option, 15, 20%, 25%, everything now. And I think it should be an option, not an expectation, because if it's already programmed into your machine, then the truth is they expect a tip. They would like to have a tip. And so I don't know. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your different perspectives, because things are not getting easier in terms of getting by these days, especially if you live in a metropolitan area. Cost of living, everything's going up, so it gets harder and harder. So how do you balance this? How do we make it work? Because I know certain countries, there's no tipping. There's no tipping culture. It is not expected to be tipped. And so how can we move into that space is my question. And, if anyone has ideas, love to hear them. Shoot them in the comments so that we can all learn and have a conversation together. Because at the end of the day, we need many minds to think and work towards a better situation for everyone, right? I don't want to obviously hurt servers or anybody else offering different services, but what solutions can there be? Okay. Anyways, that's all I want to share tonight, my friends. It can be a sticky subject for some, and for many of you, you do rely on tips. I get that. So what's your perspective? What's the solution, right? There's always problems, but what solutions are possible? And so let's focus on that, and look forward to hearing some perspectives. Okay. See you.